Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I'm going to expand upon two topics I covered in videos yesterday because the conversation has certainly continued within the XRP community. Here's the first one from the Crypto Basic. Expert cites Ripple's monthly XRP sales as proof that XRP price is suppressed. So, look, folks, I'm here to fight nonsense and destroy lies. I'm tired of the lies out there. Now, when it comes to price suppression, I'm not claiming that everybody out there is lying. In this case, I just particularly think that some people are kind of missing the mark. That's just my opinion. And if you disagree, that's fine. I respect where you're coming from. But there are people that are lying about certain topics, specifically here from the Crypto Basic. Cardano founder addresses his grand conspiracy statement to XRP holders. So, look, I posted a video about Charles Hoskinson yesterday. And after I posted it, he made comments to, not to me, but to a different XRP community member. And he's like quadrupling down yet again on his nonsense. He's literally lying. I have the proof. I've been streaming the proof. It makes me wonder if he's seen my thread, because my thread that I initially posted proving it over a year ago was so widely circulated. I don't know how it wouldn't have hit his notification feed, honestly. Like it was so, like, all the people hitting likes and the notices for my really long, is like something like over 20 posts in a row in the thread on what was then known as Twitter. It's now Social Media Platform X. And all of that, how could that not have hit his notifications and he not been curious enough to click on it? Because he was looking at all sorts of stuff and responding to all sorts of people at the same time that my content had to have been blowing up his notifications. So I'm gonna highlight the lie again. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt from the beginning. And I've been a Cardano holder since 2017. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I thought, oh, this must be a misunderstanding, mistake, miscommunication. And then once the lies, or once it was pointed out to him that what he said is just not true, he just refuses to acknowledge it. Like a petulant child. I just don't get it. I'm tired of the lies, so I'm going to call it out. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. You know what, let's just dig into this one first, because this one's really burning my biscuits here. I don't need to read the article, but there was this post shared by XRP community member Stefan Huber yesterday, and he wrote, "I'm sorry, Charles Hoskinson, but for 2 years, you did everything you could to make the XRP community to look ridiculous and embarrass us in public. I know you offered peace, but only to come out of nowhere and call us crazy conspiracy theorists again." And so, look, the reason that he wrote that post is because there was this rant that went viral within the world of crypto yesterday, and I highlighted it in my video. I'm not going to in this video because I already did it, but he was basically ranting against the SEC, and I'm sympathetic to that argument. And I'm on the same page, I think all of us are, with the strong majority of what he said, in particular in the clip that I shared yesterday. Because it's garbage, it's nonsense, it's an attack on the entire crypto space, harming people, wasting hundreds of millions of dollars, a lot of lost sleep, and then for what in the end? Because the SEC's not going to win, it's just helping the incumbents here. So that's why this even came up in the first place. Now, Charles Hoskinson did respond. And this was not included in my video yesterday. This is what set me off, because I'm just like, my God, it's the same lies for over a year now. These are lies at this point. It's been pointed out to him. I'm not the only one that has said this. I just did this in a way that shoves the actual transcript of what he said in his face in chronological order in a way that's undeniable. Maybe that's why he doesn't respond to me, but he responds to other XRP community members. Because I've got the damn timeline there. And if he draws attention to me by responding, then he has to acknowledge it. Maybe that's what it is. So here's what Charles Hoskinson said. "Again, no matter how many times you tweet, there is zero evidence that has ever been presented that Joe Lubin bribed the SEC to go after Ethereum. You are utterly incapable of differentiating between the free pass argument and the allegations of consensus bribing the SEC to go after XRP." Okay, so there he's recognizing there is a difference. There's the Ethereum free pass speech with Billy Boy Hinman. And so there could be there associated with that, some with Ethereum and the SEC, but then there's also separately the Joe Lubin stuff. Now, when it comes to the Joe Lubin allocations, there's a separate. You'll see as I go through this further. Separate, he made up this assertion that what he was actually talking about, or what was brought up, or what was asked about, was the idea of Joe Lubin and Ethereum partnering up with the SEC to attack Ripple. Now, that's a separate concept. That concept of Joe Lubin, Ethereum, and the SEC teaming up to attack Ripple is separate from the idea of there being corruption between the Ethereum people and the SEC. Those are two different things, right? And so here he's talking about Joe Lubin again, and you'll see why this matters as we go through further. I want to tear this to shreds again. And then Charles Hoskinson says, still waiting on a single piece of evidence for the latter. If you cannot provide it, then yes, you are spreading conspiracies and slander. That's what this has been about for 2 years now. And somehow you guys still fight. I don't get the stupidity of it. No, Charles, you're not paying attention. The stupidity of it is that you're acting as though we were making arguments that pretty much none of us in the community are making. And then when we show you that you said things that are not true, you just ignore it. You just ignore all of it. And because look, again, I'm not the only one that has said. Anytime somebody has pointed this out, that he's asserting things that are not true, he's nowhere to be found. But then he's all over all these other comments. So then we had somebody, an XRP community member named Muse Forge, who wrote to Hoskinson and said, the narrative you're attempting to regulate here is so far from what anyone investigating actually says. Who has made this direct claim, and what is your evidence of such? This is cognitive dissonance on the level of your so-called orange-pilled moon boys. And so the orange-pilled moon boys, that's a reference to his rant from yesterday. And this is where Charles Hoskinson keyboard breaks is just, it's in all caps right now for most of this post anyway. And so he's screaming now. And he wrote, and this is so absurd because he's lying. And he's screaming at us, and we're supposed to believe his lie because he's screaming now. And he says, the entire grand conspiracy statement is about Joe bribing the SEC to go after Ripple, not the free pass. Not the free pass. Not the free pass. And then his keyboard starts working again, and there's no more caps lock, and he says, for 2 effing years, we've been talking past each other. It's beyond sanity. No, Charles, you are lying. And I'm going to prove it right now because this is my channel, damn it, and I do what I want. I wrote a whole thread over a year ago. I'm not going to run through that. I have basically what is a truncated version that highlights my thread from over a year ago, which was widely circulated. And so just a few hours ago, I wrote the following, responding to Charles Hoskinson. I wrote, Cardano holder here, but this is not true. You were not asked about Joe Lubin in the Thinking Crypto interview that set this all off. I transcribed everything last year and reviewed the conflict as it unfolded chronologically. Here's what you were asked. And here you can see my transcription. I typed this up myself on October 11th, 2022. Here's what Tony from the Thinking Crypto YouTube channel asked him, and this is what set this whole thing off. He said, lots of people not happy with Gary Gensler, the recent Kim Kardashian PR stunt, as well as the SEC/Ripple lawsuit, and the judges, takes on what's been happening there as it relates to Ethereum and the amicus briefs and things like that. Folks, it's on your screen. That's the transcription. You can check it out on the Thinking Crypto YouTube channel. In that, which prompted Charles's response, do you see anywhere Tony from the Thinking Crypto YouTube channel asking him what he thinks about Joe Lubin and Ethereum people and the SEC teaming up to attack Ripple? Is that anywhere in the question? No, you don't see it either? Okay, so I'm not an idiot then. It's not. So he wasn't asked that. He was not asked if there's a conspiracy to tear down Ripple. He wasn't asked that. Okay, cool. All right, let's proceed then. I write the following. Here is how you responded to that question in full context. You claimed the XRP community created a grand conspiracy, that there is corruption between the SEC and Ethereum. That is not a conspiracy, though, and it's not favoritism, as you later call it. And folks, what I'm talking about here, and you'll see that Charles actually agrees with this, is that there is clear evidence that there is some sort of coordination and corruption between the SEC and Ethereum, not as it pertains to Ripple. I'm not asserting that. Who's asserting that? That'd be a fringe opinion in our community if you can even find a person that believes that. But there's between the SEC and there's actual proof of this. Joe Lubin meeting with them, and then Jay Clayton chiming in on the drafts of the Ethereum free pass speech. That's real stuff. And you'll see later when I get a little bit further in the video, Charles Hoskinson acknowledges that there's probably something there. He acknowledges it. Now he calls it favoritism rather than corruption, but we'll get to that in a second here. But in the meantime, here was Charles's response to Tony in that particular interview. Charles Hoskinson said, yeah, well, there's some people in the XRP community that are trying to invent this grand conspiracy that there was blatant corruption between the insiders at the SEC and Ethereum. There you go. That's the part that I highlighted in red, followed by the rest of his content, and he kind of shifts into different gears. It's on your screen if you want to pause and read, go ahead. But right there, he's saying that the grand conspiracy itself is this claim that there's corruption between the SEC and Ethereum people. Nothing about Joe Lubin and ETH people and the SEC teaming up to fight Ripple. That's not what he said there. That's not what he was asked, and that's not what he said. He said that it's a grand conspiracy that the SEC and Ether, the Ethereum people, there's any sort of corruption there. That's it. That's it. Full stop. That's it. This is the proof. It is right there. You can go see the video clips yourself. Okay? And it's so funny because later, and I'll show you, it's coming up very soon here, you'll see that he's calling the corruption between the SEC and Ethereum folks a grand conspiracy created by XRP community. But you'll see later, he agrees with that. He just calls it favoritism. He agrees with that, though. That's what makes it it makes it extra absurd. And so I then wrote, after the controversy blew up, you falsely claimed you were asked about the belief that the SEC is in a conspiracy with Joe Lubin and the Ethereum group to go after Ripple. As I proved above with the transcript, this is not what you were asked. See here. And then I shared another part of my thread from October 11th, 2022. And this is a transcription from a separate video where Charles is ranting because he'd already had for days at this point, the XRP community coming at him saying, no, no. There is a conspiracy with the SEC and Ethereum. That's what we were talking about. And now you're switching gears talking about Lubin. And so people are saying that. And here is what Charles says. And this is an outright lie. What I'm about to share with you, which is transcribed, it's on your screen, and I'm about to read it. This is a lie from Charles Hoskinson. He says, I was on an interview called Thinking Crypto at my ranch and casually asked a question about what I thought about a belief that the entirety of the Securities and Exchange Commission is engaged in a financial conspiracy with Joe Lubin and the Ethereum group to solely single out and go after Ripple. Folks, oh my God, I'm just dumbfounded by this. He knows that's not what he was asked. I showed you that's not what he was asked. If you want to read it again here, I'm scrolling up pause right here, or I'm circling right here. This is what he was asked. He was not asked about a conspiracy to take down Ripple between Joe Lubin and the Ethereum group. He was not asked about that. And so I then wrote, making the claim the SEC, Joe Lubin, and Ethereum group is going after Ripple is very different than claiming there was corruption between the SEC and Ethereum. You said it's a conspiracy that there's corruption between the SEC and Ethereum. That's what people took issue with. Much later on, you acknowledged that there is likely corruption between the SEC and Ethereum, but you said it's favoritism and not corruption. Here, I need to make this full. This is the argument the XRP community has been making. You're just calling it something different. No grand conspiracy theory here. And so, folks, this is what makes it extra absurd. Way later, after this had settled to some degree, it popped back up. And this is a quote from Charles Hoskinson. Did the Ethereum founders use connections and maybe even money to convince the SEC? Yes, probably. But this is not corruption, just favoritism. So he says, yes, it probably did happen. Now, again, go back up here. He said, where's the quote? Here it is right here. The XRP community that are trying to invent this grand conspiracy that there was blatant corruption between the insiders at the SEC and Ethereum. So there he said that was a grand conspiracy then. Now he says, yeah, it probably happened. Oh, it's not corruption, though. It's favoritism. It's just favoritism, folks. So I then wrote, it's worth noting that the depraved behavior between the SEC and Ethereum does fit the Merriam-Webster definition of the word corruption. You're softening the seriousness of their actions by calling it favoritism. And here's the definition of corruption. And I read this yesterday, so I'm not going to again. I made it full screen. You can pause right here if you want to read it. This is the definition of corruption. What Charles Hoskinson described fits the definition of corruption. It's not favoritism. It's literally corruption. So then he's part of he agrees with the grand conspiracy then, right? That's what the Charles Hoskinson of a little over a year ago called this. He called it a grand conspiracy. Well, he believes in the grand conspiracy then, and he's propping it up. You see how stupid this is? He's not stupid though, he's brilliant. He's lying, he is a liar. I then wrote, you need to stop saying that your grand conspiracy statement was about Joe Lubin. I have proved here with the transcript, with your words, that is not what your grand conspiracy statement was about. That's why people have taken issue with your approach. Okay, there we go, feel better. That was cathartic. I needed to release that because my God, it's absurd. It is absurd. He is absolutely lying, unquestionably lying. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt at the beginning, but I'm not going to let him sit here and just scream at our community with outright lies to his nearly 1 million followers on X without pushing back a bit. Because he's got a way bigger platform than I'll ever have. You know, about 1 million followers on X, yeah, that's gigantic. But still, I'm going to do what I can to get the truth out there. That's why I'm doing this. And it came back up again. So I'm going to try and rip it down again because it's stupid. Now, on the next topic, and I'm not going to reread this. If anybody wants to see this, I'm just pulling this up as a little bit of table setting because I was mentioning this topic in a video yesterday too. There's this idea of there being manipulation, against the XRP specifically, and I just think it's absurd. My argument is that, in a nutshell, it's that the entire crypto asset class is marketed a lot of times by whales, a lot of times by bots, but there's no sort of sinister force attacking XRP outright specifically. And then I highlighted year-to-date returns for the top 15 cryptos by market cap, excluding stablecoins. That's what's on your screen right there. If you want to read it, go ahead and pause. I read it yesterday on my channel. But the narrative's silly. Well, I have some additional stuff on this as well. And as you can see here, it's continuing into today. Expert cites Ripple's monthly XRP sales as proof that XRP price is suppressed. They highlight a poll from my fellow XRP YouTuber Jungle Inc. But I'm going to highlight first a perspective from attorney Bill Morgan, because there was talk about Ripple suppressing the price of XRP, and I just it's mind-numbing at this point. Here's what attorney Morgan wrote: is that selling pressure suppressing XRP price? I say no. Firstly, it's not 3 billion XRP per quarter. That much is released from escrow by Ripple, but about 800 million XRP per month is put back into escrow. Secondly, 200 million XRP per month is not much compared to XRP volume per day, which is usually over 1 billion. Evidence in the SEC v. Ripple case is that Ripple's share of volume is less than half of 1%. Thirdly, Ripple's release from escrow that is sold according to a report I recall last year, maybe the Masari report, results in an inflation rate in the terms of the circulating supply of 5.4%. Compare that to Flare, which is 10% of circulating supply this year, reducing to 7% next year, or Solana's inflation rate of 5.654%. See Solana inflation schedule below. So whatever the reason for XRP's underwhelming price performance over 5 years, and I don't have the answer, it is not a result of Ripple sales of XRP released from escrow. That's spot on. And I mean, I have the answer. I have pretty strong belief on this. It's just that the price of XRP was harmed because of the SEC v. Ripple lawsuit. There's all sorts of people that would be holding it today that are not because of over 2.5 years of damage. Now, this can be healed, but it doesn't just happen with a snap of a finger, right? So that's what I believe anyway. But he's spot on here in pointing out that there is look at various other cryptocurrencies. There is an inflation rate, right? And so if you want to call this an inflation rate with Ripple, not that I personally do, but if you want to call Ripple's selling of XRP inflation, it's so minuscule that it wouldn't impact the global price of XRP, and it doesn't. Ripple was selling at the same time that XRP ran to almost $4. So clearly what they're selling isn't exactly a problem, right? They're not dumping enough to move the market. And so I responded to, and I wrote, these are great points you make. Additionally, when Ripple does sell XRP, that doesn't mean that it's all immediately for sale on exchanges. For all we know, it's just sold to a market maker who is holding it. If that's the case, then the retail side wouldn't feel any change. And so, folks, you got to ask yourself, when market makers or any business client is purchasing XRP from Ripple, especially if it's for ODL, is it just all getting dumped on the market and it's just permanently on the market forever, all on the retail holders? Or is a lot of it getting held? Because if it's getting held, it's not entering what's considered circulating supply at this point, and then it wouldn't impact the supply and demand dynamics, would it? So you can look at the minuscule increase in supply, if you want to call it that, when Ripple sells XRP, but even then, I think that's overstated, because I doubt that all of it literally ends up in the hands of retailers immediately. Even if it ultimately does, not that it all would, but even if it did, it wouldn't happen all at once. Bill Morgan responded to me and said, correct, another good point. Also, the SEC's evidence in the SEC v. Ripple case overwhelmingly showed that Ripple put in place measures to buttress the XRP price. The SEC adduced this evidence because it suited the SEC's Howey arguments. The Ripple dumps on the market explanation for XRP's price performance over the last 5 years is not tenable. Yeah, and that's spot on. And I'll say also, you could argue that every sale by any person anywhere suppresses the price of XRP, right? Even by me, you could sell like 5 XRP. That's price suppression. If you want to argue that, I'm not arguing that, but if you could, I mean, it's a downward force in terms of price action after all, right? It's not going to show up in the global price of XRP if you sell at 5 XRP, but it's a downward price action, right? But when people say Ripple is suppressing price, a lot of times they're insinuating something sinister specifically about Ripple's act of selling XRP. This is nonsense. Ripple owns their XRP and they have every right to sell it, same as you do. This mentality makes even less sense, though, when you realize that Ripple's sales as a percentage of global sales are so minuscule that when they sell, the global price of XRP does not shift at all. Now, yes, you can argue that over a long period of time, over a span of decades, once they sell it, the price will look different than it otherwise would have. But what I'm telling you is that with a small percentage increase, it's not in this period of time in any sort of noticeable way impact. It's the same way, like, Bitcoin in the past has had inflation rates higher than this. It still's worth way more. So what's the problem then? There's not enough demand. That's the problem. As the market heats up and more people get in the crypto, that problem's solved. That's it. That's the actual answer. It's a boring answer. That's the truth. There's not enough demand. Wait until there's more demand if you want the price to be higher. There you go. My fellow XRP YouTuber Jungle Inc. put out this poll. Do you believe the price of XRP is manipulated or suppressed in some way? 82.9% of people responded yes. 17.1% responded no. Now, I've made my stance pretty clear. The answer is yes. It is, but so is every coin. There are whales and there are bots. The answer is yes. But I am against this idea that there's some sort of unique attack against XRP, because those are the arguments that I just think are completely absurd. I am not in favor of that. XRP community member Jerry Hall wrote to Jungle Inc. and said, I have believed the price of XRP has been suppressed for years. When I realized Ripple was selling into the market on a monthly basis to finance their business, I knew Ripple and I had different goals. Bag holders are financing Ripple, while Ripple is not financing bag holders. And fair enough, everybody's entitled to their opinion. And Ripple may not have exactly the same goals as you, but they're running a business, and you're not running a crypto business unless there's something I'm unaware of. But you know where there is overlap? Ripple wants to sell XRP at a profit, and you, Jerry Hall, you do want to sell XRP at a profit, correct? Is that a fair assumption? So there is overlap there. It's just they're doing it right now, and maybe you're not. I mean, I don't know your specific situation, and nothing against Jerry at all. I'm just sharing my thoughts on the topic since we're talking about it. Because the reason that article exists is because of the comment from Jerry Hall, actually. That's the reason I want to highlight it here. And so nothing against anybody like Jerry Hall or anybody that agrees with him, because there are going to be people listening that disagree. That's fine. I'm just sharing with you my perspective because I respectfully disagree. Jungle Inc. responded to him and said, it's hard for me to say something that is currently valued at 3 Cardanos or 5 Polkadots is suppressed. If anything, XRP has been traditional pretty high, which in the face of some bad stuff made it a bad value. Could the problem be the opposite of suppression? And so, the point's not lost on me. And I think I responded to him. I have something here. Maybe I didn't specifically to that one. But he is right there. The price of XRP. I mean, it's a large cap coin. And so maybe the market cap is going to look like, it'll be like a small cap, way in the future. Like a small cap coin might have a 30-something billion dollar market cap in the future if the asset class gets big enough. But it's gigantic still. And yes, I do think it would be worth more if there hadn't been the actual suppression from the SEC. Like that is real suppression. That's the only part there. And actually, I may have written about that here because I did end up writing something else. XRP community member Mo and Co. responded to Jungle Link in that post there with the poll and said, not XRP alone, but crypto in general, lower the market cap, the easier it is. The rich elite guy can play on this. Think Moon Lambo is on something here. And then he shared my post, which I put out yesterday, and I already shared with you. Give you an opportunity to read it if you wanted to pause the screen. I read it in a video yesterday. And I responded to him and said, yep, there's all sorts of market manipulation, especially from whales. It's not unique to XRP, though. Jungle Link responded to me and said, I think the biggest misconception is XRP is manipulated down to keep the price cheap. There is nothing cheap about XRP. It's obviously a highly valued blockchain. I responded to him. Yeah, this is what I was thinking of here. I wrote, I agree with this. Actually, let me make this full screen. The only real price suppression of XRP I can think of off the top of my head occurred when the SEC sued Ripple. Beyond that, I've seen no evidence of price suppression or manipulation that's unique to XRP. XRP is way more expensive than almost every crypto in existence. It's a top 10 large cap. Completely agree. Perhaps people are just frustrated because they want XRP to be worth more right now. But if so, it's still unreasonable for them to delve into conspiracy theory land in an attempt to explain why XRP is worth what it's worth. XRP community member Vesta responded to me and said, I remember reading that David even commented on this some time back. He agreed that no matter what news or what achievement, it didn't move the price. It acts of its own will. And so, of course, he's referencing David Schwartz, Ripple CTO, co-creator of XRP and the XRP Ledger. And so I responded to that and said, that's true. I can't think of a single time XRP price moved because of Ripple news. If it ever has, then someone can provide an example, and that's fine. But still, that would be a rarity. XRP price can move on news. It moved on legal news on multiple occasions, and it moved on fake XRP ETF news. Yeah. So, but when people are saying that the news doesn't move XRP, I know what they're talking about. They're talking about Ripple news. That doesn't. I can't think of a single instance where it ever has. And even if you can, again, it's in the minority there. So I just wanted to flesh that out and some additional thoughts on that because the community continues to discuss this. And I'm glad the community discusses stuff. Like, I love that stuff. This doesn't really grind my gears. It's really just the Hoskinson stuff because that guy's just, he's lying. That guy's a liar. But this discussion, I just wanted to share my perspective because I enjoy discussion, thoughtful discussion, and lively debate. That's fun. As long as stuff doesn't devolve into arguments, which that's a different thing than debate. I think debates are fun. Discussions are fun. And I like that people are just trying to get to the truth and they're sharing ideas. That's all healthy and good for our community. That's why I like to cover this stuff on my channel so that people can think through it and come to their own conclusions. But the stuff with Charles Hoskinson, that's outright lying. And he's making our community look like crap on major platforms. He has such a gigantic microphone, having almost 1 million followers on X and getting interviewed on this and this, and he's picked up by crypto media and mainstream media, and he's saying crap about our community and stuff that isn't true. Well, I got to push back because that's garbage. It's utter garbage, and it's provable. I have proven it on multiple occasions. I did it again in this video. And yes, it grinds my gears. But I feel better now. I feel a little better now. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Lambo.